booktube. Danielle here. Welcome back. This is Next Page Adventure. This video I want to talk about my failed attempt at the Newts for August, which I read about half the books that I planned to for the Newts, and then I kind of got sick of my TBR and started reading other things. But really, I didn't actually read a lot. I only read one physical book, and then I listened to like 6 audio, and then I read 3 graphic novels too, so I didn't do terrible. I just didn't do a lot of physical reading. But so I'm just gonna get into it. My ratings were okay. They weren't that great either, but I didn't have any 1 stars or anything. I had 1 2-star, 2 3-stars, 4 4-stars, 1 4.5 star, and 2 5-stars. My only 2-star, which was my lowest rated of the whole month, was The Land by Alarong Kong, and it was an audiobook. It was the second book in the Land series. I think it's called Forging or something like that, but it's a lit RPG, which means it has a lot of like game RPG elements in it, like interface dialogue. I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain if you don't know what an RPG is, but if you do, they're cool. I like it's the first time I've ever tried any, but I just feel like there's almost too much RPG elements where you're almost reading about someone playing a game instead of someone actually telling you a story, if that makes any sense. But I got kind of bored because of that, because I felt this one was all about the main character building up his village inside this virtual world where he got, basically it was a game in his normal world in the future. But I don't really want to give too many plot points away, but the whole concept is like these aliens came and they realized how obsessed we are with games, so they're basically testing people through a game. But it never really talks about that except the first chapter of the first book. So I think it's kind of fun because I love video games, but I just felt there was too much. And then my other major issue is that the main character is supposed to be a 24-year-old male, but he acts like he's 15, and he kind of acts like one of those really annoying gamers. I don't know how to explain it. And he's just always making silly jokes, and especially really sexist ones, and I don't usually get upset by that, but I did in this one. It was just really bad. So 2 stars for that one, and it was kind of like a do I want to continue the series type thing, so I decided if I liked that one I was going to continue the series. But I only give it 2 stars. I don't really care. I'm not going to continue it. I will try lit RPG in the future because I like the idea, but I'm not going to try that author again. My first 3-star was The 100,000 Kingdoms by N.K. Jemisin. So I really want to get to her Broken Earth series, which starts with the 5th season, but I decided that I was going to go to her earlier work and try that out first, which it might have been a bad idea. I loved the concept of the book because it's like they're called the Arameri, and they live basically in the sky, and they pretty much rule. I think they're like because they enslaved their own gods. So I liked that aspect because there's basically 4 different gods, I think, living there, and they pretty much are slaves to these people. And I really loved the concept of it, and the writing was actually really good too. But for some reason, I just couldn't connect to any of the characters, and the main character, and it was like there was a lot of political intrigue, but it wasn't entertaining political intrigue. It was kind of boring. I know that sounds bad, but and then there was a lot of awkwardness with the gods, in my opinion. So one of them always takes the form of a child, mostly all the time, but he doesn't act like a child a lot of the time, so it's just kind of awkward. And then it is explained in the book that some people make him do other things even as a child, like sexual thing. It's really creepy, but it's hinted at that. And then there's there's a whole love story between one of the other gods and the main character that was just kind of weird to me, kind of awkward. But it kind of made sense in the end, but not really. I didn't like the book. It was just like weird. But I did like the writing. I did like the world. That it was a really interesting world. There's supposed to be 2 more books, but I really don't feel like I want to read them because I don't think they take place from the same characters. So I almost don't know if I care. I don't know. I think I'm just gonna move on to her other series that's well loved. So I think I'll have better luck there. My other 3-star this month was Give the Dark My Love by Beth Revis. This was a library book, so I don't have it anymore, but so I wanted to read this because I knew it would be on the darker side and it would be like, I thought it'd be a really quick read, but at the beginning of it, actually like half the book is extremely slow, and it's the reason I gave it only a 3 stars because of the slowness, for one. 2, I liked the magic system, but I really wanted more from it, and I didn't really like the fact that it had some animal cruelty in it where I don't really want to give any plot points away. So I'm not going to say, but there is something I was uncomfortable with, and then after I finished it, I read that other people were a little uncomfortable with that too. I just feel like when you're writing fantasy, you could do anything that you want, and the possibilities are limitless. Why do you have to put some sort of animal cruelty on there for your magic system? Like, magic systems should be, I don't know. I just didn't like it. It was weird. But also, the last 30% of the book was great. I really liked it. There is a little bit of a love story in this book that I didn't care for and I thought was pointless. I thought it could have been maybe more of a friendship or something like that, and it would have been fine. A close friendship. Because the book takes place from both perspectives. Mostly the female lead. She's from a small island, and she's going to a school for alchemy. And the dark themes from this book come from this plague that's happening to almost everyone, and she really wants to help find a cure. That's why she's going to school. And it eventually, the fact that there was on the back of the book, it does say that the character turns to necromancy, but the necromancy that was promised in the description on the back wasn't brought in until maybe 60-70%, and I knew that going in because I read someone else's review on it, but it still bothered me anyway, just because I don't know. But there is a second book, and I feel like I want to read it, even though I had issues with it, just to know what happens, because it does have sort of an ending, but there's a lot of possibility in there, which I can't really talk about, but because I don't want to give any spoilers. But I feel like the second book will be better because there won't be so much of a slow build up to everything, and I'll probably just wait and see what the reviews say. My first 4-star book was The Song of Achilles, which I listened to on audio. I knew nothing, absolutely nothing. I didn't read the description of the book, nothing. I just hit play. I had picked it up with some of my Audible credits a couple months ago, never listened to it. I'm like, I'll just listen to this. I was expecting something completely different, but it was still really beautiful. I wasn't expecting a love story at all. I thought when you think of the song, I don't know, Achilles, you think of war and Greek god and powers. I don't know, but it doesn't even take place in the perspective of Achilles. It takes place in the perspective of Patroclus, and it's basically they grow up together and fall in love, and it's really pretty. Everyone knows the ending of Achilles, but the way that she did stay really true to the original story of Achilles, but obviously she twisted it into a male-male romance, and you get to see them from a pretty young age all the way up until, spoiler alert, but if you don't know the ending of Achilles, where have you been? So I did cry a little bit at the end. So yes, Circe is actually on my TBR this month. I haven't started it yet, but I really liked that audiobook, so even though it was pretty. There were I only give it 4-star because I think it's just because it's not my genre. I don't pick up romance very often, but the fact that it was Greek inspired and something I already knew the story of probably helped. And it was, and I, like I said, it's very sweet, it's very beautiful, and it has great writing. So anyway, yeah, that's that. But if I was probably a fan of romance to begin with, I probably would have given it a 5-star. The next one I gave 4-star, which I was kind of sad about. I mean, 4 stars not a terrible rating, but I reread, which I think I'm gonna do a video on this book, like, because I've only been doing TBRs and wrap-ups and maybe a couple tag videos here and there, but I'm trying to think of other videos to make, because I don't really want to do reviews yet because I'm inarticulate and terrible, so I gotta practice a little bit first. But I reread Eye of the World by Robert Jordan, which is the first book in the Wheel of Time series, which I read 18 years ago now, which I'm old, I'm 34, but I read it when I was like 15 or something. So, and it's amazing how much I forgot in that book, because I loved the book when I read it. I read the first 3 really quick, started the 4th one, got to the middle, and then for whatever reason, I was a teenager at the time, I put it down and I hadn't picked it up. So I really want to continue the series because it's always been in the back of my mind all these years. And then I also watched Daniel Green's channel, which he loves Wheel of Time. He kind of helped me bring back my love for it, and that's how I found out there was going to be a TV show on Amazon. So I was like, okay, well, I really need to continue it. But I was like, there's no way, I need to start over because I don't remember everything. And I really underestimated how much I forgot. So I don't know if anyone's read it, but I forgot that there were, well, I'm just going to do a separate video on it. I'm not even talking about it, but it's just the only reason, like, this book was originally a 5-star for me, so I did lower my rating on it, which I'm sad about, but I still enjoyed it. It was like, I forgot how much the first book was like an intro into the world and characters, especially the first half of the book was bad. It was hard to get through. Like, I can admit that. Like, I loved it back then when I was 15, but now I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know. But I remember how much I loved the characters, especially once they separate and you get perspectives from all of them. And that's basically how the books go from now on. Now that I'm finished with the second one, it's a lot more interesting later on. But I just don't remember the first book being as slow as it was, and I don't know how to explain it. I still enjoyed it. I mean, it's an epic fantasy world where, and people have been saying that Robert Jordan copies things from Lord of the Rings, and I was like, I don't really remember that at all until I read the book again, and I was like, okay, I kind of get it now. He does. Well, he did, but not as bad as some people might say, in my opinion. But yeah, still a 4-star. I'm sad that I had to lower that rating, but I had to. I just couldn't do it. I'm still going to continue the series, obviously, but I have a hold on The Great Hunt, which is the second book in my library. So my next 4-star was All Systems Red by Martha Wells, which is a sci-fi novella. So I listened to the audio in like 3 hours. I don't know, it was pretty short, but it follows a AI called, well, I guess his name was Murderbot. I don't know if he called himself that anymore, but he's basically a bodyguard for these spaceships, and he's hacked they call it the governor module, so he doesn't have to, do anything anyone says anymore. But I don't know, it's just kind of funny because he's supposed to be like a killing machine, but he likes to watch, now that he doesn't have, he's basically hacked his programming so he could download all these TV shows and everything, movies, and watch them. He's like addicted to soap operas and stuff. But anyways, the ship that he's on gets in trouble and stuff happens, and for a 3-hour audiobook, I was pretty impressed. I wasn't expecting much, but I'll definitely pick up the next one eventually. But it made me laugh, I wanted more. And I feel bad. I rate it 4 stars because I needed more, but it was a novella, and that's not really the author's fault. I don't know. But it's a good thing that I wanted more, right? So maybe I should have upped that rating a little bit. I don't know. But yeah, we'll see. I think I'm gonna keep the 4-star for now, because the ending did confuse me a little bit. The ending action. I don't really know how it was resolved. I feel like I missed something, but that often happens when I listen to audiobooks at work. So, I don't know. I'll probably listen to it again. It was so short. The next 4-star I read was Cinder by Marissa Mayer, which I loved this young adult book. I did not expect to go into it liking it because I knew it was an older YA. So I was like, well, I've had the audiobook for years, and I just for some reason didn't listen to it. And well, Cinderella wasn't my favorite Disney movie, and that's kind of why. And like Cinder is a Cinderella retelling, but it's very light in the retelling. It's a sci-fi where Cinder is a mechanic. She's part cyborg herself, and basically it's like future Beijing, maybe, or future somewhere in China. I can't remember where. I think it's called New. I think she calls it New Beijing. So I think it's future China. But the evil queen aspect of the story is the queen of the moon, basically called, and they're called lunars, and they all have this glamour magic where they can look however they want, I guess. One thing I liked about this book a lot is that there wasn't a dull moment, so it doesn't spend too much time on one thing. It jumps from one thing to the next a lot, and it's only one, well, it is 2 character perspectives, I think, but it didn't really need to be. I guess it did, but it's mostly just Cinder's perspective. There's a little bit of a romance, which obviously Cinderella, but it didn't take over the story, and that's what I was afraid of. I was afraid that it was going to be all Cinderella story. It wasn't. I thought it was a very good balance, the kind of balance that I like in my YA. Little bit of romance on the side, lots of action and interesting sci-fi magical stuff. I like to be entertained. I don't like to be bored. So I really liked it though. It was good. And I'm hoping that the next one, Scarlet, which I'm going to listen to soon. And then my one 4.5 star was actually the last 3 that I have on here are all graphic novels. So I have my 4.5 is Lock and Key, which I've been slowly reading as I get them from my library. Number 3, Crown of Shadows, which I loved it. I love the series so far, and I didn't love the first one, so I'm really, really glad that graphic novels are easy to consume, because if it had been a full-length novel and I didn't like it, I would have been like, nope, not continuing it. But the second one and the third one are amazing. They follow these, so you're following this family, a brother, a sister, and a mother, and then there's, villains and whatnot, but it's called Lock and Key because this house has all these weird, creepy keys that do a bunch of different things. Like, one of them, you open a door with a key, you walk through, and you become a ghost. The other key, there's keys for, the second one was just crazy, but I don't want to give it away, so there's keys for a lot of different things that do just outrageous stuff. It is kind of on the horror side, not too bad, but it can get a little violent and bloody sometimes. And then I don't know, the artwork is great, especially at number 2 and 3. I don't know, I feel like I should go back and read the first one again, because like for some reason the first half of the first book confused the hell out of me. I didn't know what was going on, so I wasn't paying attention that much to the art. I guess maybe that was why. But I swear they get better and better. The artwork does each graphic novel that you pick up. So I definitely recommend it. It's good. It has a lot of fantasy, paranormal, horror elements all mixed in, so it's pretty good. And that's Joe Hill that writes that. That does that. Joe Hill and Gabriel Rodriguez. Lastly, the last 2 I'm going to talk about were my 5-star, which is really weird, but they're both graphic novels. This doesn't usually happen to me. I had no books that I actually listened to or read that were 5-star, but I finally started Rat Queens by Curtis Weeb? I can't say the last name. I'll put it over here somewhere. So, Sass and Sorcery is the first one, and the second one is The Far-Reaching Tentacles of Inzoth, or something like that. But, these are great. I love these the most because I'm a gamer, so I kind of get the whole idea behind it, and I bet the creators were probably gamers too. So it follows this group of girls, which you can tell like they're kind of a party of girls that you would form in an RPG game. So there's like a healer, there's like the sword tanky kind of girl, and then there's the rogue chick, and then the mage, which is awesome. And then they pretty much go on quests to kill monsters, but it's very adult. I will say that these are adult graphic novels. Like I brought it to work, and one of my coworkers' kids were there, and she starts looking at it. And at first I'm like, whatever. I'm like, wait, don't look at that because it's not suitable for children, especially the second one. So yeah, they're great. I don't know what else to say about it other than the artwork's good. There's humor, action. All the characters are very developed for a graphic novel, and I love them. I'm gonna probably get every single one of them from the library. That's where I got them. But yeah, I definitely recommend them, especially if you're a gamer and like RPGs. So yeah, well, that was my failed newts. The only one because I was trying to be an or for my newts, and the only one I think I failed was reading a book that either takes place in England or has a English author. I didn't read anything. That's the only. So I almost passed. I probably passed to become something, but because I was originally going to read, I was going to finish A Darker Shade of Magic by V. Schwab, but I never finished it, so I failed. Anywho, thank you for watching, and I'll be posting my next video in a couple days. I'm probably going to post a semi-chat / review of my reread of Eye of the World because I have so much to say about it. Yeah, I said most of it in this video, but I'm going to try and be a little more articulate for that, if I can. Alright, well, thank you for watching, and have a nice day. Bye-bye.